Hello and welcome to part 2 of my chat with my guest, Si Booth.
How are you doing?
So, Cryptids part 2. Si, we're not against each other.
Not at all.
You had a question mark over cryptids.
I still have a big question mark over cryptids.
You passed it on to me.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to put it back. I'm not trying to go against.
This is the fun bit. I haven't done any research, I haven't done anything, so I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah. So, we started with Bigfoot last time.
We did.
And it was the Bigfoot footage, essentially, wasn't it?
The one that everybody thinks of as the Bigfoot, yeah.
Yeah. And it was called the Patterson?
The Patterson, I've forgotten last bit. Oh, God, what is it? Patterson? You have it, you don't.
And I don't have his other name,
It is the Patterson Gimli.
We know that this Patterson guy had shot this footage and then claimed that
it was a Bigfoot.
He never caught it. We don't know much else about it, do we?
Was that footage.
Yeah.
Later inspection showed, or it seemed to show, that it was a female, which is something that we missed earlier on, and various other things came out of sort of it being really dissected by people who supposedly either know, like people who make the best costumes for all the best films and things.
Yeah.
So, because all along people said it's a man in a gorilla suit, or it's a fake, or whatever.
Well, there are thousands of sightings of Bigfoot. I mean, it's all over. Even in in Scotland, we have one.
Were you surprised how many Bigfoot sightings? Were you surprised about the different names it has?
But that's just the way it goes, isn't it? Everyone has got a little name for it. But I was like, I didn't know I had one in England called the Grey Man or something. Yeah. What I found here is 1920s gold prospectors say they were attacked by a gang of Bigfoot, and they actually shot one, apparently.
Right.
And these legends have been around for years. So, as I mentioned to you in the message, we talked about Native Americans.
We did.
And I'm going like the spirits of the land, that they're really big into these energies we don't know.
Very much, yeah.
And so, I was thinking, is that where it starts? That they have these beliefs, and then it becomes a physical. I saw it, Chief so-and-so,
Yeah.
But yeah, 1920s, we're talking regular folk.
Regular, just prospectors out there doing that, attacked by a group of them. I've read about it. One of them, they shot one of them, and did they recover the body? But then it got stolen or something like that. Which remarkably, something always happens to the body. So that it never can be found.
Yeah, they say that these gold prospectors, they had rocks thrown at the cabin,
which is typical behaviour.
Yeah, so like they got in there and
rocks. Other typical behaviour is they'll uproot a tree and then put it the other way around with the tree roots out like a marker.
Okay.
That's another typical thing, and there's all sorts of more modern theories, such as that they'll make crosses out of saplings, and almost like showing people or other Bigfoot. This is my bit. This is where you go for this. This is where you go for that. Other theories are that they follow water courses like we use, motorways and things like that. That they will actually use them to move around.
Yeah.
So these sort of lots of theories there.
Well, in the morning, naturally the Bigfoot had fled.
Yep.
So we can get nowhere with that.
No.
1958, we've got the Gerald crew find massive footprints. Hey, come here, there's these massive footprints. It's near a construction site, and this is like headline news. And eventually, they themselves admitted it was fake.
Right.
That they did it.
Okay.
And yet, it had swept across the nation.
A bit like the people who do the stuff in the corn circles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it showed some of the headlines on a video Dad watched, and it was like, I had Bigfoot's baby, I shot Bigfoot, I caught Bigfoot, I have a love affair with, you know.
But why would they fake it, and where did they get the idea to fake it from?
Yeah, well, I think it was in the same area where these legends had come up.
Mm-hmm.
This is like 1958.
Yeah.
So it'd already been around. It's like, when you look at the place where it is, it's so remote, isn't it?
Yeah.
There are people there.
Yeah.
Obviously, companies there, construction site. But it's proper woodland where all the snapping of twigs and, you know.
But you also, if you put somebody, for example, in a they call them suits that the poachers and everything use, that are completely ghillie suits.
Yeah.
That's it, in a ghillie suit, and you could walk past somebody and not see them.
Mm.
And the theory is that these creatures are almost like wearing a natural ghillie suit. It is how they do it, and they can just disappear. Saw a theory today that is their fur so thick, a bit like a polar bear, that they don't show up on thermal cam.
Yeah, all right.
So is that another
clever
theory? Because polar bears don't show up on thermal
No,
cams.
that's right. So from 58 we go to 67. This guy Patterson, everyone in the town thinks of him as a liar. You know, he's just known for tall tales. Everyone's like, yeah, he talks a load of crap. So, straight away that reputation is out there that this is the kind of thing he would do.
Doesn't that fall on all of us who look for ghosts? Doesn't that?
Yeah,
that
that's
sort of
right.
reputation
Yeah.
fall on?
He's the odd one. Can you believe that he believes there's a Bigfoot? That's fair enough. Before we move on, and I'm going to keep going back to this Patterson thing because that's the focus.
Yeah, that's good.
But you can buy, or you could at the time, you could buy Bigfoot prints from the newspaper to put. That's how big it was. You could buy the foot. So then, they were out there. So many hoaxers.
And the other thing
it.
you've got to think about is the natural ones as well, like the bear double steps.
Yeah, like you mentioned,
and things like that, which is quite important.
Although the ones I've seen, nothing would make me think the double step. It's always like a good foot, and sometimes it's massively wide.
Yeah, and they can work out the gait, and they can work out how tall the creature is.
Yeah, by the stride, maybe.
And so if anybody were faking it, they'd have to know what they were doing now, anyway.
Yeah.
Whereas you could probably in the 50s where just go.
Yeah.
Whereas now you'd have to be pretty damn good, I think.
Yeah. But it just shows that going back, there's been fakers and stories because it's fun, isn't it?
And the same with ghosts.
Yeah.
Ghost stories.
I mean, how many fakes have you seen from years ago where they'd used a double mirror onto glass and there's someone here.
Pepper's Ghost.
Ghost, yeah.
And all such as that. And seances that were rigged and all this.
Yeah.
And all that,
it brings both mediums.
Yeah.
Genuine mediums, question mark, and all the fake ones. Yeah. So then there was the question of where are the bodies? Again, in all this time, prints, sightings, we have no bodies.
We don't have any
annoying,
bodies, but
isn't
again, it's a big wilderness out there.
Yeah.
And like I said to you, look how many hundreds of thousands of pigeons there is, and how many times do you see a dead pigeon?
Yeah, well,
rarely.
I have seen,
but you don't see hundreds of thousands of dead pigeons, do you?
No, you don't. But that just means they're going away to die, surely.
Well, so do Bigfoot.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's just and this is in a creature that we know of, and this and another. How many times do you see baby pigeons?
Yeah, I mean that's fair. But I have actually got here that bears go away and hide to die. That's something they do.
Elephants do. And,
Elephants bury their dead.
They do, yeah.
I mean, that's incredible. That was something to learn. So, bears can walk on two legs for considerable distances. We did mention last time, short. I don't know how long a considerable distance, but, that was an option to look at. We thought, are they just bears? Because they can walk on two legs. But, so in 2022, 4K cameras We should have some goddamn good footage now. You know, I want the next Bigfoot sighting not to be through. Just bloody go up to it.
The other theory, now this isn't something that I necessarily buy into myself.
Yeah.
But one of the theories that is out there is that you would probably stand a better chance of catching footage of Bigfoot if you went old school and onto a chemical camera, an old film type camera that didn't have all the electronics, that didn't have all the... Because it's almost as if they can detect the electronic bit. It's a bit like, we've got ghosts who feed off power of the electrics and things like that. It's almost like that they can... because this is why, they destroy trail cameras and things like that.
Well, trail cameras, surely. That's a good way.
Whenever they've been put up in areas, they've been found destroyed.
Yeah.
They've been, and things like that. It's almost like they're trying to keep away. It's like you're giving off almost like a scent when you're using modern electronics.
Yeah. I mean, animals can detect. If it's an animal, they can detect things we can't.
Yeah. So they're saying that it's strange that we used to get better footage off old cameras.
Yeah. Like vinyl. It's actually a better sound than CD, than MP3.
Well, perhaps,
Because it's our stuff today is compressed, isn't it? You don't get the nuance.
It is, yeah.
Maybe there's something to that.
Yeah.
But in 2022, not in 2022, 2008, which isn't that long ago, a kid found a Bigfoot body.
Right.
And everyone was like, brilliant. Turned out to be a hoax.
Alright, yeah.
You know what I mean? A bit of community, because there's a big community out there. I've seen it, and there's a buzz, and there's this Facebook groups which you put me into.
Yeah.
And it's alive and well, the belief in Bigfoot.
Very much so. And lots of odd footage, like on ridges and things like that. You always get the silhouette. Even now with sort of modern cameras and things, it tends to be more a distance thing than close up.
To go against myself, I have the same argument. Why haven't we got good footage of ghosts? Why, It's like, you'd think today, but in the field, I'm like, it's not that easy.
It isn't.
So I mentioned the big all over the world and the big grey man. Yeah, all the samples that have been collected of hair have always come back to the animal.
They have. There's actually one sample that's come back on a documentary that I watched, and it was, I think it was somewhere in the Himalayas. It was a Yeti or something they were looking for, and it came back in the database. I'm just trying to remember which documentary it was, but of a bear that had been extinct for goodness knows how many thousand years, and it was just at the point where polar bears and grizzly bears broke off, and it was the bear that were a bit of both, and they found hair of that or DNA sample of that. The other thing is, and what they do a lot of now, is the water testing and the water test to see if anything has been... They can get thousands and thousands of animals or fish or DNA out of a small water sample. And generally, when the water test, somewhere where they know nobody's ever been, like the one done recently on some royal ground up in the... I don't know where it was, but nobody were allowed to go there, not even, any of the wildlife people or anything. They got a special licence to go. Tested the water. The only thing that came out of there were human, or as close as they could find human DNA.
Okay.
So, how close to human DNA as a chimpanzee? Or it's strange.
So, newspaper story comes out. There's a forest fire and they find a dying Sasquatch.
Right, okay.
Okay. They've caught it. They get out of the vet and a doctor to examine this thing. And they checked it out to be almost non-human. There was like something really weird about it. This vet and this doctor are like, this isn't us. It's all hairy. What the hell is this thing? They put it in an ambulance to have medical work on, which you would, and that ambulance was never seen again. And that's when I start thinking, did this happen? And when you look further, the article is then found to be riddled with spelling mistakes, and it's not from a verifiable newspaper. The article's there, the story's there, but when you actually look at it, when you look, you're like, wow, newspaper, boom, suddenly you're in. This is reportable. Yeah. And then you realise, well, someone's just faked a newspaper article. Oh, shot down again. Yeah. You know?
I'd heard of that.
So, what I want to get into is what I found online.
Right, here we go then. This is the good stuff then.
Patterson.
Yeah.
We've already touched on how he was slightly untrustworthy. Okay.
Crazy band or whatever.
3 guys in town, one of them being Patterson. There's the guy in the suit. He says, I am the man in the suit. I am Bob Hieronymus. Right? And I'm from, and it's all in that area. Yeah. And he's like, I am the guy in the suit. Now, a few people have claimed to be the man in the suit, which you would expect. Mm-hmm. When you see this guy walk in the video clip in this unhumanoid way, he just walks like a normal guy, but he's got his own gait. And it's like, wow, that matches. It cuts to people in the bar and they're like, we all knew it were him. Only he walks like, we're like, it's Bob. That is Bob in a suit. Okay. Now they all know that, because it's a close community, it's like, we know Patterson, we know Bob, and there's a third guy. They've gone up and Patterson's like, we're going to shoot a documentary. That was his thing. We're going to shoot a documentary to find and film. That's why we're up there. Okay, yeah. But he pays £1,000 to Bob and says, I want you to put this suit on and we're going to, Bigfoot. And he's like, $1,000. In those days, $8,500. And he's like, sure, I'll lie, you know.
I did it.
Yeah. They even did a rehearsal. They actually, this thing was legitimately set up. Before they went to the location, they did a whole run through, put the suit on, boiling hot. And he's like, just you walk like that, you know. And you know, these are all guys who carry guns anyway, that sort of person. So yeah, this thing was properly walked out, and then they're like, right, let's go film it. He never got paid, this Bob. He got shafted.
Right.
And so he's eventually like, God damn it, I was willing to keep this secret, willing to go along with it. And now I'm like, well, I might as well just tell my story, because before I die, I want you to know that I am this thing. Cut to, because Patterson's dead.
Yeah, Patterson,
right? We can't ask him anymore. His reputation is becoming a bit shady. Guy number 3, though, he is getting old, and he is not talking. He's obviously a friend of Patterson's, and he's been like, we went to all that effort, I'm going to leave a question mark. If I don't say out, it's me against Bob. But for me, I was just like, come on, this seems like that's what happened.
I'd have some questions for that. Right.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just... It has been analysed by some experts who've worked in film industry and things like that have enhanced it and been able to enhance it a lot better now than it could ever have been enhanced before. That guy says there's no way it's a suit because of the way it moves around the muscles. It definitely... You saw it's definitely got breasts.
Yeah.
Right? It's definitely got breasts. I honestly don't think anybody, even at that time, would have gone... If he didn't have $1,000 to pay this guy, he'd have needed at least that to have a suit of that quality.
Well, we have the guy.
Yeah, we have the guy, but it would
we have the guy who made the suit.
All right, okay, cool.
This guy comes forward. I made the suit. Right, okay. I'm in the film industry.
Right, okay.
And I'm responsible. And then we're all like, oh, brilliant, okay. Have you got the suit? Well, I haven't got the suit because obviously part of the thing is we destroy the suit. Yeah, but surely that would have been a lot of money. I've charged a lot of money, but it's a hoax. We don't want that lying around in an attic. So we don't know where it is. We don't know how it was destroyed.
Why did the challenge him to make another one?
We ask him, where's prove to us that Patterson gave you a receipt, you're a businessman, you know what I mean? Well, I don't have the suit or any evidence that I made it. Well,
To
did
me,
you
that's-
make it then?
Yeah. To me, it could be just a couple of people who didn't like Patterson that were trying to, or trying to make some money themselves by saying,
Yeah.
yeah, it's us. He's made, his fame and fortune by it. Yeah, I'm Bob, and I'm going to learn to walk like the woman. Because we could all mimic that walk.
I will put the video in the
Yeah.
description so we can.
Yeah, we could. We could all have a go at that walk if we wanted to. If you were going to fake it, I think you would have. And please put the original bit on where it's.
All right.
It's like
Yeah.
you'd have made, I think, a damn better job of it than that. And again, I will go back to the analysis of the suit that people said at that time. Basically, there was nothing that you could use that would give that type of look at all.
It was shot on horseback.
It was shot on horseback,
So,
yeah. But again, if you got to fake it, why shoot it on?
Well, because then you can't see the detail.
Well, perhaps.
And then,
Would
I
you-
was riding my horse.
And would you put breasts on the suit?
Was it breasts or was it just badly made?
I don't know, when you look at it, I
Yeah.
think it's pretty compelling when you look
I
at
don't know.
whether...
I'm with this guy who put his hand up and said it's me because, but I'm
I'm,
never gonna know.
I maybe as well, but what I'm saying is, it is one of those, and when I think it's that page I put you on, but the newest Bigfoot series that's on that isn't the greatest, but it's on that they got a guy from Hollywood to analyse it, and this guy is absolutely brilliant. And I would recommend anybody out there just to watch. It's only about 10 or 15 minutes of one episode. Even if you're not interested in the rest of it, find the episode. I'll find it, and so we can put it on the on the podcast later, or we can put it on the website and tell you which episode it is. But the way he analyses it is just very, very compelling, and the guy obviously knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He
Cool.
obviously knows what he's on about.
Well, it's still a question mark.
It is a question mark, yeah.
But
But there's a question mark over everything.
yeah. But it was interesting. You find a thread and you're like, okay, I've solved it, and then at the end you're like, well, that doesn't go anywhere.
And that's one sighting.
Yeah, that's the sighting.
It is the sighting.
Well, yeah, there's
it is-
thousands
it is
of
one sighting,
sightings.
Yeah,
Thousands.
yeah. Sound recordings and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. Hey, I like that, though. That's really good that you've... That's some stuff that I didn't know about. To be honest. I didn't know about Bob.
Yeah, that's quite recent because they're all knocking on now, and it's like, well, I'm going to die or take this to the grave, Number 2, the Dyatlov incident.
Yes, the Russian incident.
Yeah, we have nine people,
9 youngish
plus
people.
one guy who went with them. Do you know about this guy?
Turned
Guy
round.
number 10? Yeah, he got ill.
Turned round.
He got ill.
Yeah.
So 10 people come together. One of them was actually made to go with them, who none of them knew from the college.
I didn't know that. Just to keep an eye on them, or to...
Well, it's you said to me it was in an area where you have to get permission.
Yes.
Let me see if I've got
It might have
exactly
been
why.
KGB or something.
That's
like
what
that,
was
even.
suspected.
Yeah.
Yes. So we've got a lone survivor, guy number 10, because he got ill.
He got ill on the train and decided not to proceed or something. Didn't he?
So here, number 1, we'll go through it.
Yeah.
But we have avalanche theory.
Yeah, I
That
heard that.
there was, they were camping, and suddenly there was an avalanche, and all hell broke loose. Hypothermia.
Hypothermia would cause people to take their clothes off.
To think they were.
You think you walk too hot, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that could have been an explanation. I've heard that one before.
And there was radioactivity found on some of the bodies. They were radioactive.
Right, so there could have been some sort of
So
poison.
it's like, right. Poison, that sort of weird thing. So yeah, it's called paradoxical undressing when you have hypothermia.
I didn't know it was called that, but I've heard of the people doing that.
Yeah. So the radioactivity was also, in theory too, a Soviet test missile. They were up there and they'd blown up a bomb, detonated a bomb.
Right.
But there was no explosion. Nobody reported an explosion, which somebody would have. So it's been around, Soviet missiles. But...
Also may explain things like some of the discoloration with the radioactivity. I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but it could on that side. Things like how badly broken the bones were there.
Yeah.
And the lady that had her tongue ripped out. I don't think it'd explain that.
Well, we'll get to all this.
Okay, here we go. I like this.
I'm building up. So we've got lone survivor number 10, we'll call him. He had odd clothes which seemed to suggest military. His skis suggest military, and there were military boot footprints, and yet none of them were in the military. But at the scene, everyone's like, that's military boots. So yeah, we don't really know about him. So the third theory is a Russian Yeti, because there's potentially a weird shot of a Yeti on the camera.
Yeah, there's a couple.
And these are not fakeable cameras. They're spooling cameras.
Absolutely, chemical cameras.
Yeah. Idea 4, aliens. There was a bright sphere seen that night and reported.
Strangely, and I didn't bring this in before, but strangely, there is often bright lights and lights seen with Bigfoot encounters as well.
All right.
Whereas the native Indians used to say that they use the lights to lure you into the wood.
Yeah, will-o'-the-wisp.
And then
that's what that was.
They've got
So we have cameras. That's fact. We have the cameras. We have what's on the cameras. We have actual diaries. They were really meticulously kept. So that's good. That's not hearsay, is it? These guys were grade 2 to grade 3 hikers. They are properly experienced.
They knew what they were doing.
We're not talking about us.
No, they knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
They were like almost mountain rescue type people.
In fact, they were going to get their next grade. That's why it was difficult, but they were like, this will get us our next grade.
Yeah.
So, and they were all young, weren't they?
They were all young.
Yeah. And it was essentially a ski trip of the highest difficulty.
We're almost like a Duke of Edinburgh type.
Yeah, exactly. Thing. Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
They've done the silver and this was the gold, or this was the, that type of thing, or super gold, or instructor level, or whatever you want to call it.
So day 1, Yuri Yudin, he gets joint pain, he has sciatica, and he says, you know what guys, I can't do this, I'm already in pain. He says, I'm going to have to sadly back out. And he is the only one left alive. So that's why he's not always in the lineup, because he kind of got away with it. So there's an idea that they got lost due to the weather, because it closes in, you've no visibility,
I don't know if you've ever been in those sorts of... I once did a bothy crawl many years ago up in Scotland, and we didn't see another person for about 5 days. And we were climbing deer fences, orienteering via just by a compass, because it were there were mobile phones, but they weren't like, so it were pre-mobile phone days really, because I don't think anybody on the expedition had a mobile phone, even, the teachers and that. And there was this one point where we went up this hill, and all of a sudden, within seconds, you were in fog that you could hardly see your hand in front of your face, and it is scary. It is scary.
Well, these guys were meant to telegram, so that shows how long that was. Yeah. They were meant to say, we're up at this cabin or whatever, we found it, and we'll telegram to civilization. Yeah. And that telegram never came.
Never arrived.
But if you pitch a tent in a storm, you don't really know where you are, do you?
Till it's gone. No.
The tent was cut open from the inside, which is a strange,
as if they wanted to get out
in a rush. No one was properly dressed, particularly.
Is it because they were asleep?
Like dreaming?
No, were they, when they were in the tent, if something happened, was it while they were all sleeping? And then something happened and they just got the hell out of there in whatever clothes that they were wearing inside the sleeping bags?
You would think something startled them and they ran off, but for one fact, that the footprints from the tents were in single file in a very orderly, slow manner.
Strange.
So that kind of rules out running away in fear, because they walked steadily. You can see the evidence. February the 27th investigation. Branches broken off at the base of a tree. Find a tree, and as if people try to scramble up this tree and snap things off. There was a fire started at the bottom of a tree as well, where the first bodies were discovered.
Where the first ones were found,
Yuri Dashenko, he has large burns on his head and foot. And he has grey fluid coming out of his mouth. Mm-hmm. So, dig deeper. Grey fluid. Stop looking at me now.
Sir, I'm interested.
Grey fluid.
You've done your own work, It's just like, I'm very impressed.
This grey fluid, doctors say, strongly suggest force to the chest. It's like bits of your inside come up.
Right, that's interesting.
Which could mean that he climbed up the tree successfully and fell out of it onto the fire.
It explained the burns as well.
Yeah, obviously hypothermia.
But if they had a fire going and they were presumably relatively safe, if you got a fire going, why would he want to climb the tree then?
Yeah. Yuri has bruising, burns on the foot, leg and hands. And they find in his mouth his own knuckle, which he had bitten off. Now, is that hypothermia? Is it fear? But whatever it is, he's chomping down on his self. Now, these bodies, though, had been moved, They weren't found like that.
Oh.
When they found the bodies, somebody had put them in a respectable position after death.
Okay.
All right? Their clothes were taken possibly to keep somebody else warm.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
It would make sense.
They're
not using them.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? We don't want that to happen to us.
We're in a desperate situation, and but we can't do no help now.
Yeah.
So
they probably got not just like a shirt. They were talking like good clothes. Like warm weather. So Igor is the leader, and he's found with his fists clenched. So called, I guess. He has abrasions and bruises on his ankles. His body had been moved, so he wasn't the killer or whatever. He's missing a tooth, and it's suspected in a fist fight because of the injuries.
Right.
He's got cuts and abrasions from a fight. Now, hypothermia was the ruled cause of death. All these few are like, this is hypothermia. You look at it and you go,
no.
They got hypothermia, from being in the cold, but that...
What caused them
to get still? Zinaida, she had her cardigan arm torn off. She had abrasions on her hands, bruised face, a long bruise on the side of her face, looked like the strike of a pole.
Right.
Cause of death ruled as hypothermia. There's some sort of fight, isn't there? Looks like they're all brawling for something.
Or fighting for their lives.
Yeah. So those are the bodies discovered first. It shows what a vast area this is, because it takes one whole week to find the next bodies. March the 5th comes around. They find Rustum. Internal bleedings in both temples. Right. A fractured skull gives the impression that he's been disorientated. Cause of death, disorientation, hypothermia. He's lost it.
Yeah.
In some way. His body has been moved after death. So whoever's moving them isn't here yet.
No.
Yeah. And that's when they discover the den where they were camped together. Lyudmila. She's next to running water, this spring or a stream or whatever. Her lips are missing.
Yeah.
Weird. She has broken ribs.
But not being funny, if they're next to a stream, then it's more likely that if the stream's there, that small animals are using it for a water source. They could have eaten the lips, lips, eyes, nose, that sort of thing.
Yeah, animals are known to go for the fleshy parts, aren't they?
Yeah, so I don't find the lips missing a major. That's just also happened after she died, I think.
She had no tongue. She had no eyes.
Yeah, but the tongue was removed from what I read, very dexterously. They don't think, from what I read, I may be wrong, you may have read something differently, that she was still alive when the tongue was removed.
Next fact, she was still alive when the tongue was removed. They know that because there's all the blood in her stomach.
Yeah.
So,
that isn't an animal after death that's eating the tongue?
No, it's not. And she was alive, and she choked on her own blood and was possibly beaten by something. As well as the next person, Semyon. Now, he is the mystery guy. The first guy gets ill.
Yeah,
he's the mystery guy.
Like almost the KG, possibly the plant.
He comes on last minute. They say, all right, guys, we've let you go, but we're going to send you this other guy just to be with you. He's not that experienced a hiker. Well, who is he? When you look into his history, there are huge gaps in his history which suggest KGB.
Yeah.
Because you can't find him. So they're in a weird area. It's Russia. They're being watched. He has multiple clothing layers on. He's wearing other people's clothes. He's a survivalist. He's like I'm skilled at this, staying alive. 5 broken ribs. No eyes. Mm-hmm. His eyes are gone. It's ruled he died from hypothermia. But he hasn't just died from hypothermia. That's not the cause of death, is it?
He's got all the clothes and he's got,
Yeah, it's like something went on.
Yeah.
Internal damage was that extreme.
Like a car crash.
Like a car accident. So he's been hit by the force of the car. How that's weird. So, him and another guy coming up are obviously dressed for the cold. But we're skipping Alexander. Rips and tears and burns on the clothes. A snapped neck, broken nose, and no eyebrows. Do animals go for eyebrows? I don't know. The cause of death, what they come up to is hypothermia.
Oh, strangely enough. There's almost a pattern here, isn't there?
Yeah. Cover up, So back to the next guy, Nikolay. Bruised face, he's got loads of clothes on.
Can I just go back to Alexander?
Yeah.
If he's got burnt clothes, but they didn't say there were any burns on him.
Burns on the clothes.
On the clothes, but not him.
Not him.
His clothes could have come off the other guy.
The person at the fire. So we imagine that he's took that.
He's taken those clothes. So.
Yeah. And so he and some others have probably moved the bodies because he's messed with them
to get
out
the
of
clothes.
the fire. Yeah. So Nikolay, bruised face, internal bleeding on the forearm, a fractured skull from within. By brute force.
How do you get a fractured skull from?
I don't know. I do not know. I even quoted that myself. I didn't think I was like, what? So the last 4 hikers.
Is that? I think I read somewhere. Could it have, that somebody may have had the heads squeezed?
All right, and it popped out.
Yeah.
So the last 4 hikers took the clothes in a last ditch attempt to survive, but they were all found dead later on.
Had their bodies been moved?
No.
Right.
I don't think so. I haven't put that. So they test these clothes and there's radiation. There's radiation all over the area, not just the clothes.
Why would Russians allow that point to get out?
Yeah, that's true. In this area, it's not as uninhabited as people think. There's a tribe. There's the Mansi people, like in
like
Indians.
And
not sure, but the tribal.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Genghis Khan type of
on
the Russian steppes and
and you can find these moose antlers attached to trees and stuff, and it's like this is our territory.
Right. Okay.
They started to think, did these guys wander into Mansi territory and get ambushed
possibility.
beaten up, chopped up, and then the Mansi people, went off and the snow
possibly
covered the tracks. It seems that was ruled out. It's like they're not the sort of people to do that. In your head, it's like, tribal, and apparently they're so peaceful.
Right.
And when you talk to those, they're like that. We would never have done that. If people need help,
we'd have helped
them. We're a quiet,
It's like Inuit Eskimos and stuff like that.
It's like we're not scalp collectors like you might think.
When Shackleton were having problems, the Inuits tried to help, even though they didn't like them. They were like, "You're human. We're not going to leave you to die."
So Avalanche was a big question mark. When we get to Yeti, there's absolutely no footprints.
Okay.
But we know there's a camera shot
of
a questionable.
Something.
However, snow, when it snows, it covers footprints, doesn't it? So when you go back looking for footprints, it's like, I know they do stay, but up there it snows a lot, and over time,
and
could
also,
have missed it.
were they looking for Yeti?
Yeah, I mean, when did they find the camera? We already know it was a week between snow.
And by that time, you've contaminated the area.
Yeah, you're stomping around looking for people. Yeah.
So I don't.
So they had the glowing spheres. On the camera shots themselves, they have these bright lights, and it's thought that they were possibly taking pictures of these spheres, and these aliens abducted them, did things on them, put them back. It's thought that water damage to those old cameras, the frostbite of cameras, does do that to film. It gives white streaks. Yeah. So it looks like there's a white streak. There isn't.
But we've seen abnormalities on all sorts of cameras.
Yes.
And,
and it's not
like a camera strap.
A camera strap, brilliant, yeah.
Something like that. It's
a streak of a bug. The whole paradoxical undressing. Another thing of hypothermia is you hallucinate. You can start a fire and you double your clothes to stay warm, but then you're far too warm. It's like, get my clothes off, get me away from this fire.
Could also make you fight somebody or
Well,
something like
you're
that.
Fighting over who's closest to the fire. You're fighting over give me that jacket. No, you know you're gonna die. It's like you or them. There's something called the Kármán vortex stream. Have you heard of that?
I think I've heard it mentioned or read.
It's a noise that the wind up there makes by rushing through.
Like a howl.
Like a howling wind. But it's at such a frequency that it can cause paranoia.
Right.
And if you're paranoid, and
But there are a lot of people there, you can't say that they'll all be paranoid.
Yeah. Well, it takes one to act up, doesn't it? And it's a fight, and then.
And the other thing that gets me is you still had the 4 or the 3 at the end that were trying still to survive.
Soviets. So all the files on the case got buried. They didn't want it to get out and known about. Yeah. And when you actually request the reports and you look at them, it's absolute bullshit. There's inconsistencies all over. Hurriedly doctored and not doctored very well. So again, you're still not going to get to the bottom of that. They rushed in. Yeah. Let's find these guys. Put out Area 51 all over again. You know what I mean? It's like whatever happened, don't tell them. So in 2019, the case is reopened afresh, and Andre K, using the photos and the sat-nav, he actually manages to go up there and say, you've been thinking about this all wrong. You've got where everything was in the wrong spaces.
Right, okay.
So he redoes the scene and goes, they were found there, the tents were there, and that's the real change.
He lays the plot
out, because now you can find big areas like that. We know that the winds were 65 miles an hour that night, high up. It drops to minus 30 Fahrenheit. So the tent was cut into the snow. You basically chop down so that you've got a big high wall
to protect you from the wind.
And,
almost like an igloo.
Because they didn't quite know where they were, that is a terribly dangerous thing to do, which can causes a build when the snow gets higher and higher. It does avalanche and it falls on the tent.
The drift fall on the tent. that could explain why they cut themselves out from the inside as well.
Yeah, so the thought is that they'd weakened the steep snow bank, so and that is 1,000 pounds of snow falling on the tent, severely injuring you. And they instantly, fearing an avalanche, cut the bloody way out, dig this up there, because they're all it is though, it's not an avalanche, it's just it's a terrible way they've cut into the snow.
Yeah, it's just a drift that's
a big heavy
over.
snow comes out in the middle of the night, you're thinking avalanche, cut out,
and you're out of
terrified, in your pyjamas, in your undies, whatever.
I was just thinking that could explain the internal damage.
Yeah,
but
thousands of pounds.
He was one of the last survivors, so you'd think he'd be one of the first people to die if he had the internal injuries.
Yeah.
Unless he were being cared for by the others, but
I mean, I don't know who
was found
when.
Yeah.
So, fearing an avalanche, they cut their way out of the tent in a hurry. They all steadily make their way down to the tree line because that is where you're supposed to go in case of an avalanche.
Yeah.
So everybody get up. Avalanche.
Avalanche.
We just had a foreshadowing of an avalanche now. So they're all experienced. The
single line again would mean that they were all composed. They were keeping.
They're clever.
One in front. You keep an eye on the person in front of you.
Yeah.
You follow the person in front, even though you're cold. But
it's like, look, this could go anywhere. It just started to go.
So they were actually into survival mode when they came out of the.
Yeah, we don't grab our gear. We go
to the tree line.
To the tree line. Makes sense, doesn't it?
I think so.
And then 3 people actually they find the footprints going back to the campsite
to go and get
to be like
supplies.
Oh, no avalanche.
Yeah.
Weird. So our tent's under stuff. We go back. I need clothes. We need supplies. So 3 go back, but in the darkness and in the blizzard, they can't find where they went. That's the problem. 4 make another den.
Right.
Near running water. And the problem is that where they made this tent, it wasn't just a little stream, it was a massive bit of water. They dig down, the whole thing collapses lower down into the water or next to the water. And it hurtles them down and they're buried under a massive weight which eventually gets washed off.
Yeah.
And then animals find them, chew off.
But that again, the tongue that were removed while she was still alive.
Yeah, but was that correct? The actual reports, we find that it's nonsense, a lot of what was reported.
I was thinking the eyebrows thing could have been if they was trying to start a fire with some sort of fluid and it goes... And eyebrows...
Who's to say?
Because your eyebrows, that's the
Yeah.
first thing that gets singed off, isn't it?
Yeah. But coyotes are all over that land and they find some nice juicy people just sat there. They're going to eat them. Oh yes, the hikers, they all find had actually helped clear up a nuclear disaster in a site nearby. One of them even lived at the place that had the nuclear disaster, so that's why they were all radiation. Yeah. They lived in the village. In the zone, I should say, not in the actual
Were they
building.
all KGB then?
I don't know. But the blast radiation had covered all that pass.
There's a lot more to this than,
So the radiation is not a surprise because they had helped the thing that was probably trying to keep under the carpet. Is that what they were trying to cover up? Not the killing, but the fact that it led back to, oh yes, we did have a nuclear radiation.
I think that's what they were trying to...
That story seems to be it's still a big question mark, but it's like, is that...
Some of it's explainable, but not all of it.
Well, I think a lot of that makes sense. We'll never know. But the whole digging in the wrong space, thinking it was an avalanche rushing down,
sense. I just think there's too many inconsistencies where they were digging in the rock and it collapsed on them. How do we know that? It's just like it fits the injuries, so they'll say that because it fits the injuries. It isn't like this big creature that's just come and
the creature never gets the photo never gets mentioned. So I don't know. But it's a great case.
I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Interesting one.
Yeah. Right,
Okay.
the third part was Mothman. So I looked at the Mothman. Don't know really what I expected, but I was quite excited to see what stories
We were
came
out
up.
there. Interesting stories.
It's called Point Pleasant.
Point
It's
Pleasant.
in
yes.
West Virginia.
Good old West Virginia, Mama Mountain.
Right. November 12th, 1966, some grave diggers reportedly see a man with wings.
Okay.
Right, in 66. The first official munitions plant, I think you mentioned the
I
munitions
did,
plant.
yeah. It was like a TNT place or whatever that they did,
Yeah. So November 15th, only a few days later, a couple are driving along, and standing in the middle of the road is this 6 foot high person-ish,
Creature.
10-foot wingspan, and yet no head, they reported.
Yeah.
They say it's got no head, but what it did have was red eyes.
Yeah.
But only when the lights flashed over its
Like glare, like you've got...
cat eyes,
Yeah.
cat's eyes. So the guy floors the car 100 mile an hour. This road is so straight, it's
Yeah.
like a drag racing thing. And he's like to the girlfriend, "Let's just get out of here. That's weird." And along the side comes this
Flying at the same
100
speed.
speed Mothman, and it chased them. And on his car roof are scratches of this thing trying to do whatever. That makes the paper, and suddenly, what attacks this couple? Yeah, and I couldn't find verification, but scratch marks on the roof of his car seems like a pretty good.
It does,
Hey,
yeah.
I got chased and look at my car.
Yeah.
You know. It made the paper. So now.
Also, one of the things that I would say about that is he was out with his girlfriend on a road, obviously making out. You're not going to make a big song and dance about that where her parents are concerned. So if you're coming in to say, "I've just been chased by this,"
Yeah.
you'd be like, it has to be a good reason for you to admit we were
there,
actually out there making out, and so I think that's something to actually
So there's
bear in mind
witness
as
does a
well.
drawing which I'll put on the video right now.
Yeah,
Sort of a no-necked,
we
winged
like
thing. That's what they drew. After this first two sightings, the grave diggers and this couple, 8 more people reported it, and they said it would jumped on. Or one of them said it jumped on their bonnet, and it had feathers, and so that thing's right in their face, isn't it? Then there's somebody else said it didn't have feathers. Some people say it had wings, but they weren't feathered wings. And then someone says that just looks like Mothman from the Batman comic.
and that's where the
question mark of here we go.
Yeah,
Have they started to introduce a fakery into it after true, maybe / true? Things get polluted, don't they? As soon as something comes up, I also saw that. Hey guys,
I look at look at all fame and fortune he's got.
Yeah.
We've seen it. We've seen it too.
Yeah.
I want to be in paper.
Well, I think it all starts like in the pub, doesn't it? So and so comes in and says, "I've just seen this monster," and I want to be the talk of the pub.
Yeah.
Mason Bird Monster, it started to be called for a while, and then everyone was like, "No, we are not having this in our neighbourhood."
Yeah.
It was a hysteria broke out, and it was just like, "Don't go out after dark."
Yeah.
Stay together.
People went out hunting it and stuff. Yeah.
We're talking like a year later, 13 months after the first sighting. 13 months, they have the Silver Bridge tragedy. So your talk of foreboding, I thought you were meaning literally 2 days before. We're talking
was seen though.
It was seen. Yeah. It was seen on the bridge.
Yeah, it was seen on the bridge.
Yeah.
And it was about that amount of time there weren't sightings in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
it's a lot. Yeah,
so
there's no sightings, and then the bridge collapsed, and then they say
no sight after that.
But it's like, it must have been a harbinger of doom.
Yeah, well,
and it's like 13 months after. That's
when it first appeared. Yeah, it's
isn't it?
It is stretching it.
Now, very much in the community, nobody cared about the Mothman. It had gone.
Yeah.
13 months after, the hubbub, had gone, and it was like, not interested. Some said that they had seen it on the bridge, and that's what kind of sparked it again. Because it had been ages since that first time, but as soon as someone says, I actually saw it on the bridge that night. Right. But did they?
Well,
we don't know. So Chief Hornstock is an Indian guy.
Yeah.
And he had actually put the town under a curse for 200 years.
There we go.
Okay? So people in the area know that the town is cursed, supposedly. So that reignites, well, didn't you know that this town was actually cursed by Chief Hornstock?
That's amazing, I didn't know that one.
Well, 2006, somebody finds this children's book about Chief Hornstock cursing a town. It's a kid's book.
So that would just...
everyone liked it. You know the town's cursed. And then, that story of the curse is like a Mr. Min book.
Did you find any mention of Indrid Cole? Or...
Not sure.
No.
I don't think so.
No.
How's that?
That's the start of the Men in Black that they were supposed to have been seen dead as well. No.
Don't think so.
That's alright.
What I've got here is the Sandhill crane. It has red eye patches around its eyes. We were talking about a crane or birds. Yeah. It's 4 foot high. A 4 foot high bird. It's a person, isn't it?
If it's in front of you, you can look at it and think, God, that's huge. You can mistake. It could have been a big crane.
Well, this thing's got a long hooter. Yeah. It's got a long, thin neck. You're like, that's a bird. Do you know what a bird... I don't care how tall it is.
And if it had no neck, and because we're saying...
This thing has all neck.
I know.
Right?
That'd be why it's so tall.
Yeah. It's got a 6 foot wingspan, which, goes for a massive wingspan. But you know a bird.
You know the difference.
Yeah. So there's a toxic swamp idea going round. It's a bird that has then been radiated into this.
Yeah, because in the 60s, this is what we're all
mutation
about.
theory. It's called.
Yeah, and that's a lot of bollocks.
Yeah, it's a lot of bollocks. Yeah, there's an owl. I looked up biggest bird.
Would be There's a European.
It's a certain sort of barn owl that's the biggest bird in the world. The Blackinston's fish owl.
Right, is that right?
The wingspan over 6 feet, and because it's an owl, it has no neck.
Yeah.
Because it's got reflective cat eyes, it goes red eyes when you.
Yeah.
And it's got owls are bloody sturdy.
And they've got big claws.
When you look, they've got big claws. When you look at the woman's drawing and it's all stumpy, it's like an owl.
It's like an owl.
So it could be.
There
are massive owls out there.
I have personally seen. A European eagle owl. I can't say a great deal about where it was because a lot of people around here are a lot
hunters. You mean?
Well, there's hunters, but there's a lot of people who raise birds for sport.
Yeah,
and wouldn't want this to be anywhere near there. But I've seen that, and that's a big bird. That's huge. But if it was studied. Honestly, if it was studying a road in front of me, I wouldn't say it was 6 foot.
Yeah. Apparently there's a very, very healthy population of owls in that community.
Right.
However, the biggest owl that I was looking at is only in China, Japan and Russia.
Yeah.
It's not really in that part of the world.
No.
So my trail ended there, really. So later on, hoaxes are happening all over the time.
As they always
and getting
do.
rumbled. We found out this drunk guy in a suit.
Yeah.
And then from that point on, the town kind of didn't believe in it for years. It was a joke because all these hoaxers were like, you believe in the thing. Yeah. And eventually ridiculed it so much that nobody gave it any attention.
They didn't want the negativity of it all.
Yeah, just terrifyingly stupid. And then all of a sudden, this one guy starts something called the Mothman Festival.
And then it all becomes...
And that gets this statue, which stands there now, which is a great statue.
It is a great statue. It doesn't look like the owl.
It doesn't look like the owl. It's a proper beastly, scary thing. Very cool. 2 million people visit for this one weekend, and the town just overpopulates. you know, and the tourism it brings. I mean, the mayor was even there to open the statue and everything, and they're really starting to milk
like
it.
1940s weekend.
This is a sleepy town, and they have like a Glastonbury weekend.
Yeah.
And they just make all the money they want. So of course, everywhere it's Mothman this and
Everybody
that.
loves it, yeah.
Mothman t-shirts, get your bandanas, and yeah, I saw one time. You know, everyone's a folk hero, and it's growing bigger and bigger because everyone loves the Mothman. 20 reports in 2007 in Chicago. Of Mothman. Yeah, in a 3-month period.
It is like, what gets me, like, you'll find that there's other areas where it's been seen, and it's like it's somewhere for a short time and then moves. And it's seen somewhere else for a short time and then
I mean, animals can migrate.
moves. Yeah, but it's just, I still think that some of the sightings, there's something in it. I mean, there's, you know,
big owl.
A big owl, but what, that flies at 100 miles an hour?
100 miles an hour?
And frightens, not being funny, frightens the lad who's trying to be as hard as he can because he's with his girlfriend.
Yeah, but he said...
Out of so much that he'll go over to, this thing's chased me and get his girlfriend in trouble because he's been making out with her on this road where they shouldn't have been.
The cars go 100 miles an hour in that day and age.
Well,
you know when he says 100, was it?
It'll probably be 100 kilometres an hour.
This road's beautifully straight.
It'll probably be, if you're talking 70 or 80 miles an hour, it's still...
Yeah.
And cars won't go that fast.
Owls can probably fly fast.
They're big V8s, aren't they, that are in them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Big, you know, really big engine cars over there.
But we know that even if there were some sightings of something weird, that now it's all been... overdone.
Yeah.
And it's muddy, the water's muddy.
Yeah.
You know. So we've got Bigfoot potentially faked in that instance. Yeah. Potentially, we don't know. Dyatlov Pass sounds like a tragedy that's been mingled with by the Soviets. Mothman could be an owl, perhaps, if it's something real. Or there's a Mothman out there.
No, there's
I don't know, until someone catches it.
Yeah.
It's all fun, but...
Convinced you all about Bigfoot then?
No.
You still don't think there's nothing?
No, but I haven't looked into any other tales. But maybe Taro is the next thing.
Yeah, maybe Taro, or perhaps somebody out there wants to suggest something for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Any suggestions for us to look into? Please get in touch.
That'd be really good. Or if you've got a cryptid that you'd like me to look into, or...
Yeah.
You know, we'll do that for you. If there's anything that's, you know, the Jersey Devil's really bothering you, well, come on, have a word with us. We'll do it. Get in touch. Tell us, and we'll have a look at it. We might, just like Chris has come back and said, well, I think it's this. That might be all that we'll say. It doesn't mean that you're wrong and we're right, or etc. etc. It is just another point of view. It is just another opinion, you know, and that's the key thing because we can't prove anything.
No, that's the fun of it. Well, guys, thanks for watching, and thanks for Si. And we'll see you in another video.
We will do soon, hopefully.